Hello, welcome to the Global Psychic and Healer TV. Today we receive an intuitive healer, a life consultant, a shaman, and one of a rare master fireworking woman. Welcome to Lori Hudspeth. Is it right? Hello.
Hello. How are you today?
Good, thank you. I'm very happy to have you on show. I've got plenty of questions. I'm very curious about your practice. And to begin, I would like to know, how did that start for you? All those let's say the perception, your childhood, or how did it really start about perception for you?
Well, I didn't realize that I always have had it. And so I didn't know that that was unusual until I became an adult. But I was seeing things, I was seeing spirits. I've always had a deep connection to nature and to animals. And I grew up with my childhood playing with my horses and riding and dogs and in nature and constantly connected with all of that. And so that was a deep connection for me, always, was the communing with nature. And I did speak with spirits, and I did have several apparitions appear to me. And that really woke me up. That woke me up to that I had a unique position, felt like, in the world, for me anyway, in my life.
And was it normal in your family to have this kind of perception, or were you the only one?
Well, I found out that it was very normal once I became an adult. I found out that my great-grandmother was very intuitive, and that was a very devout Catholic. I grew up Catholic also, and I love the ritual and the ceremony, which I have carried into my other practice from my Catholic upbringing. And many of the Catholics are big mystics. I had many nuns in my life that were relatives, and my mother is very intuitive, so is my aunt. And I just found out as I got older that it just was second nature to us. It was just something we just always did, and we didn't really talk about it, but we just lived it, every day.
And when you say, for people who don't have this kind of perception, when you say you see Aboriginal people, what do you mean when you see them?
Well, I started literally seeing apparitions. The earliest one I remember was, I was about 4 or 5, and I was downstairs in our house, and I ran upstairs and told my dad that there was a man downstairs. And he went running down there, of course, to find out who was in our house. And as saying there's no one in our house, I was adamant that there was. And as I got older, I realized the man was in a gray uniform. Had scared me about him was he didn't have any eyes. His eyes were just white. And I know exactly where he was standing in my childhood house. And I realized when I got older that he was a Civil War soldier. It had been fought in the area I grew up in, and he was just standing there, and he was lost. So that was one of them. And as I got older, the Blessed Mother also, and I haven't until recently started telling people about that, but I did see her. She came to me to speak to me, and it made me realize that how I lived my life was very important, and how I could affect people, and just being kind day to day by her example was very important for the world and for myself. So I did that. Then as I got older, I was about 18 and went to the Grand Canyon whitewater rafting, and with my mother. And I had a near-death experience where I should have died. And the raft flipped over. I got trapped underneath the raft, and the water's 34 degrees. And I had to struggle. And when I came out after breathing in water and almost drowning, when I came out, I got sucked down into a whirlpool. But the thing that was really important about that time period for me was that I had been severely depressed and suicidal. And that had happened in my high school years. And I never quite understood what that was about, because I was very connected to God and very connected to faith and very connected, but I didn't understand why I wanted to leave. So I was always in conflict with that. And in this near-death experience, as the whirlpool sucked me down, I really realized I'm dying. I'm literally dying here. And I heard God say to me, this is your chance. If you want to die, you can, and no one will ever know that you let go. or you can live, but it's your choice. You know, you won't have the shame of suicide. And in that moment, I said, no, 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 I want to live. I want to live. And I started saying a Hail Mary that I had learned as a Catholic. And this white light came down. It was so dark, it was black where I was. And the white light came down into the water, shot out of the water like a bullet. But it wasn't over. I had to go through then an additional 3 miles, 6 rapids of some of the biggest whitewater in the world, which is in the Grand Canyon, and it was very challenging. There was no one in the water with me. I thought they had died. I thought they had gotten to shore, but it was just me and my raft, and you know, the Grand Canyon, and it was very intense, and it was life-changing because every moment was another life or death moment for me. And when I came out, I had severe hypothermia. You know, there's no hospital. And my mom and she revived me. After an hour and a half, I started shivering again and talking. And it changed my life forever to have this moment of, wow, you know, I had an opportunity to leave if I chose to, but I had to really fight to be here. And so I know those dark days and I know those dark places. And now I believe the depression and the suicide was because of what I was seeing in the world as a whole. You know, I'm very intuitive and I'm very sensitive. And as I walked through the world, I could pick up other people's pain, but I wasn't quite sure how to help them. And it was really weighed on me, and I became very sad. And it really, it seemed like a huge task, right, to help the world. And I didn't know how to do it.
So when did you start to find some tool to deal with this ability, in fact?
Well, it was very interesting because I guess it was almost 6 months later, my best friend did kill herself. And that was this huge, like, how did I get out and she didn't? How did I desire life? You know, how did I find that I really wanted to be in life? And she didn't. And that is when I started looking for tools. And it took me many years of fumbling around, if you will, and I didn't do so much reading, but trying different things and just finding that doesn't work, this doesn't work. It wasn't until I truly followed my next dream, which was to work on a dude ranch in Colorado and ride horses in the mountains. And as I began to do that, I found that people would come, they came for a week, they'd ride horses, do cattle drives, backcountry camp in 3 million acres. It was kind of scary to them. To me, it was like my home. And so these people would come in really afraid of the horse, afraid of the mountain, afraid of the mountain lions, afraid of all that stuff. And by the end of the week, they weren't afraid anymore. And the owner of the ranch kept coming to me saying, you have no idea what you're doing. You're impacting these people in a deep level. And all I was doing was reconnecting them to animals, to nature, that we're okay. You know, being in nature is our nature. And so I started realizing I really had a gift of just showing up and being me. And then I had another near-death experience, almost 10 years to the day of the first one, when a horse, I was standing on the ground, tying it up at our pack camp, and it fell over a log and crushed me to the ground. And the first words the doctor said to me when I saw a doctor, which was 3 days later, is she leaned back against the wall and she said, why are you alive? And I said, I don't know, I guess I have something to do here. And she said, I think you must, because you should have died. And something should have broken and crushed and killed me. And I realized I better get on with it. You know, I better like do what I'm here to do, because this is twice, you know, that I felt like I had that proverbial thump on the head of wake up, you need to listen and go out there and really do what I put you here to do. And so that threw me into major training, because I had to heal my body, I had to heal my mind, my soul, I had to heal everything. And then through doing that is when I realized I should take everything I learned and take it to other people. And because I walked the path, now I know what it feels like to be broken. And so that's really when that happened. And that was about at age 30 was when that happened. But I had been looking, you know, my whole life. And so You know, now I'll be 46 this year. So for 16 years now, I've been out and about doing what I can do to help other people, you know, find the light and walk the healthier path, or the happier path, or whatever path you want to call it, but get out of the darkness and into the light.
The wounded healer.
Exactly. I have walked the path of the wounded healer. You know, and it's not done, right? We're not done healing. I mean, I'm still fallible. I make lots of mistakes. I'm still learning constantly every single day. And the thing is when I do learn something, though, I take it to my clients. I take it to the people I work with, because, you know, that's what it's about, right? We're not going to all make all the mistakes there are, but we're able to say, hey, listen, I've been there, done that. Don't do that. You know, try it this way.
Yeah.
And I really wanted the accelerated path. That was the thing. You know, why take multiple lifetimes to learn something that you can learn really quick, you know, or living out karma where it just beats you up your whole life? There's just no reason for it. And, you know, because I did that. I mean, I feel like those teenage years up until 30 really was just I was just getting pummeled. As much, life was great, but I was getting, all the karma was just beating me up, you know. And but I found a way to get through that faster for people, because we're not meant to suffer. You know, pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. And so we're not meant to suffer. There's no reason to suffer at all, ever.
Nice. So how does that look, a session with you?
How do people book a session with me? They can call me.
How does that look? You know, when you do a session, how does that look?
Okay, so in a session, the first thing we do is I'm going to sit with you, whether on the phone or in person. I do a lot of phone sessions, because energy knows no time or space. I can invite your energetic body and track you and what's going on for you just as well long distance as I can with you sitting in front of me. The difference is we're not sitting together physically. We're sitting together energetically. So when someone wants a session with me, and they sit with me and tell me what brought them to me. So what is it about your life? What's going on? Because the present moment, whatever's going on right now, has more clues in it than you can ever imagine. We have signs everywhere. And so I talk to them about what's going on now, and then we discuss a little bit of the past, but mostly it's about what's happening now, because the world is a mirror for you and for I. And so what you see out there is what's going on in here. And if you see pain constantly, or everybody's grumbly and angry with you, where in you is anger? So we start to talk about that. And I spend time educating my clients and helping them understand this isn't just about me just doing something, because all healing is self-healing. You know, I am just the conduit. It's not me. The spirit works through me with the client. The client does the healing. And so I work with people how to get in touch with that part of them. So we talk about what's going on, and then we go into whatever comes up that feels like it wants to be next. Usually I go right into what's called an illumination. And most people find that it's a very gentle process. We take one of my stones from my mesa. I happen to have one here, right here. And we take it, and you blow whatever you don't even have to have words. The feeling, you blow it into the stone, and then we check which chakra it's affecting. So for people who don't know, the chakras, energy drains into those chakras, and then will affect the actual physical body. So sometimes it's still out in the energetic field, and it hasn't started to affect the physical body, and sometimes it's already embedded in the physical body. So we have all these layers. And so I find out which chakra is clogged. And as we start to remove that with breath, then I do journeying for my client. And I always journey to find if there's a soul piece that's missing. Anytime we have trauma in our life, and trauma is subjective. So, you know, to a child who loses their stuffed animal, it's a big deal. To the adult, it's not. But to the child, it's kind of the end of the world, right? So trauma, when trauma happens, we sometimes take a soul piece of us and hide it. And we protect it. Well, they don't just come back. So we have to heal for them to come back to trust us. But as a shaman, I can journey for you and bring back that piece and then help you integrate it in to create wholeness. A lot of times when people are stuck or feel lost, it's that soul piece they need. And it has been written that one soul retrieval is equal to 10 years of therapy. So that is super powerful and super quick to bring those pieces back, you know, in an hour versus 10 years of hoping that your 2-year-old would come back to you. And I find that as I do these soul retrievals for my clients, that when those pieces start to come back, their life becomes so much more happier because they're feeling whole. They don't feel like something's missing. They don't feel like they're searching for something, whether it's in a bottle of alcohol or eating too much, or, you know, the too much of something, not the balance part of it. Usually it's because we're looking for something. And sometimes it's us we're looking for. So in the journey, though, I also look for soul parts. I'm looking for, you always get a gift from yourself in your gift of treasures. I bring back a power animal for you, and we work. And the clients are always amazed at what shows up. It's a beautiful process. And I'm looking for intrusive entities or energies. So this can be if somebody's been really jealous. They actually, you know, we hear, I feel like I have a knife in my back. You literally can have what looks like a big knife stuck in your back in your energetic field, and it'll slow you down. So I remove those. But then you also could have a loved one that passed, or another spirit that just decided to glue itself to you that hangs out with you. And those are intrusive entities. And they will, they sometimes have an agenda. So they'll tell you to do stuff that's not so healthy. And they also carry and pull your energy because they have to live off of you. And so when I find those, take them out. And the difference that I have found in what I do and other people is that my first client is the person I have in front of me, the human being, the living flesh person. My second client is the entity. So if I found an entity, now whether we label it dark or not, it is still my second client. And I take really good care of it, because if I take it and just cast it out into the world, it's going to go to someone else. But if I take it and escort it to the higher realms where it can work out its karma, it's better for it. So it's a gift for the energy of the entity as well as the client. You know, when we find your loved one attached to you, the last thing you want is grandma cast out into the world, right? Lost. We don't want that. We want her to go and move to the ascended realms, right? And so that's a big part of it. Cutting cords, which if people don't know what those are, when we love someone deeply, we connect a cord to them. That's why when somebody calls, we say, I was just thinking about you, because we have these energetic cords. Well, when you break up with someone or you get a divorce, you don't want that cord there. It's toxic. And that sludge will go back and forth, and it's exhausting. And so I cut those. So there's a lot in one session. I can do as many as 5 or 6 things in that hour and a half, which is great. I don't just do one and say, okay, we're done, come back next week. I do as much as I can, and as much as what shows up is ready to be let go of. And that's part of the whole process, including clearing any medical heaviness. You know, most dis-ease in the body has a heaviness with it. So we start to pull that energy out, help your body relieve it of the things that aren't part of it anymore, to allow it to flow out. You know, it's really amazing. And there's all kinds of sessions I do. I also teach a class called Dying Consciously, to teach people how to help loved ones pass and how to actually leave with grace and ease and not struggle through the dying process. And it is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful process. As hard as it is, it's wonderful for the caregiver to do that. I've also assist people in leaving. And that is something I've been called to do, to go and help people unwind their chakras, clear off all the karma so they don't have to go work it out, and help them leave in a beautiful way and not in a suffering, struggle way. Sometimes when we have stuff left over here on earth, which we sometimes do, we fight because we know we still need to work some stuff out. So we can help people do that. We can help them cross. You know, there's just so many different ceremonies and things that can be done. Everything that happens and spiritual answer. So we can take anything that's happened and have a ceremony and a ritual and help it to take that heavy energy and combust it into light. We want to transmute it and transform heavy energy into light. And I have found that in the shamanic practice that I do, that is one of the fastest ways to do it, is to work with the nature and work with that. You know, Mother Earth takes manure and makes flowers. So this is part of what we do. We give things to Mother Earth, let her take it and combust it and miqui it and change it into light and beauty, because she feeds on it. It hurts us, but she feeds on it. So that's just a little bit of some of my sessions. And I do intuitive readings. If something comes through, if someone has a loved one that they're curious about, or they want to have just a straight reading about questions they have, I will do those too. It's all in the same energetic realm. And I do a lot of that also. So, and that comes up in sessions. So whatever someone needs is what I do. So they're really customized, you know, to the person. Once we open sacred space, it's God space. It's spirit space. It's source space, whatever you want to call it. And we let the source, that infinite spirit, talk to us as to what needs to be healed. Because who knows better than spirit, right? Is to go through and find what's next. And I listen the whole time as to, what do you want me to do next? Tell me what to do, because I'm just the tool.
You mentioned about ceremony. So my understanding is like you do that in group. And I would like to know if you can share a bit more about what is the base of a ceremony for you and what make it work better than other things.
Okay, so in ceremony group, you know, where two or more are gathered, you have that much energy also. So we have all this collective energy. And in ceremony, we are making a beautiful gift. We're giving up our heaviness to give it to spirit, to give it to nature, to give it to source, and saying, here you go, this is our prayer. And this is what we're letting go of, and this is what we're releasing. I use a lot of fire ceremonies. Fire is one of the fastest transformation tools there is, right? It just totally combusts and changes things instantly. And that is a beautiful way to instantly transform. So one of the things we do is we take a stick, a death arrow, we call it a death arrow, and what I want to release, let's say I have anger, and I want to release anger. I don't have to have the whole story with it. I just know I want to release it. So I blow it into that stick. And we hold space for each other. We protect each other's backs, and we give this to the fire. And when we give it to the fire, that energy goes in the fire. And as it burns and it miquis and it transforms, that stick goes to coals, goes to ash. We then take the smoke that comes off and we bring in that light energy. We've just released it. We let it go. And it miquis and it changes instantly. And it's so beautiful. You know, I lead firewalking seminars, and I tell people it's all in how you look at things. You know, a tree, when I'm using a tree in a fire ceremony, a lot of people say, oh, that tree's dead. No, it's not. Look at what it went from. How much transformation did it go through? It was a seed, then it went to a tree. Then after its tree life, it got cut up. Just when it thinks it's dead, we're now burning it and releasing all that sunlight, all that water, all the earth. Think of everything it took in, right? And we're releasing it to light. And what a beautiful way for that tree to give back, because when we firewalk, we are transforming so many things. It's like this ultimate gift. It's lived its whole life taking in every element there is. And then we're actually experiencing all the elements at once by firewalking. And it's a beautiful way to do that. You know, so many people have said to me, oh, you killed a tree. No, the tree is about to give life, ultimate life. And it's only us who says, oh, it died. You know, and I always use trees, by the way, that are either cut down because someone was clearing land, or it is a tree that died and we cut it up. But I don't go and just cut them down to cut them down. And I replant all the time. So it's a cycle. It's a perfect cycle, right?
Wow, that's very interesting. I've worked on fire myself, and I didn't hear about this thing about the element, and I think it's very, very interesting. I I like this symbolic a lot.
I haven't heard anyone say, the things that I say at my Firewalk now, I haven't heard anyone say at any of them. It's just become my medicine, this fire, this transformation. My experience with the fire is what I have learned and what it has taught me, because it is the teacher, allows me to take it and then teach it to my students. The way I learned, it was more of the safety and the, you know, the practice of how to know how to prepare the coals. But my experience and my love of the fire is different than what I've experienced with other people. So I bring that because my communion with it is different. And I do look at it as it's all the elements. That tree has lived a very long life, you know, with Mother Earth, with nature, and, you know, the sun and the moon and everything. So it's so beautiful to get to experience it.
So it is how you see it. When people walk on the fire, are they going through like a rebirth process for you?
Yes, absolutely. For me, they are. It is a rapid transformation. You know, I'm still like everything. I feel like I'm constantly learning more and more, but it is the most amazing thing to step on those coals and to see that transformation. You know, fire, it does combust. So if you're putting your energy field and your body onto that, it's going to combust all these heavy energy, because that's what we're doing. We're saying we're going to combust it, but safely, because you're in communion with the fire. You're not overcoming it. There's a lot, you can go take a fire walk a lot of places, and I've run into people who've done it. But what I do is I try to make it really mean something, so that you can experience the depth of it. Not just that, oh, I walked on fire and now I'm really cool and, you know, because I can do this. It is really about the depth of what are we releasing? What are we stepping into? What do you do when you're with your intuition? We forgot how to talk to our intuition as a race. It seems like the human race, you know, we don't live with the land as much as we used to. So we kind of don't know how to sense in that way anymore. But when it comes, it's like anything. The decision to walk, how do you know which way is the right decision? And so during the day, I teach you how to start to really tune into your intuition and listen. Which voice do you listen to? The one that says, oh, I can't wait to walk on fire. That's really neat. Or the voice that says, are you crazy? That is fire. And we have seen fire burn buildings down. And when you're standing there, which one are you going to listen to? And what do you do with the fear, right? What do you do with it? How do you take care of it? And because so many people like to do this moment of, I'm just going to conquer it and I'm going to overcome it. Well, that might work once, but over your lifetime, fears come up, and you need to learn how to dismantle them and how to quiet them down, and then take those steps in your life towards your goals and your dreams. This is why I love firewalking. One night of firewalking, you can use it the rest of your life in every situation. You know, everything that comes up that's a big deal, that's scary, that is, you know, you're facing a disease, you're facing someone's imminent death, you're facing, you know, foreclosure or bankruptcy, or what are you going to do? You know, you can't run away from it because it's right there and you have to deal with it. And that's the same as this fire. And what I loved about the fire, the first time I walked on it, it reminded me of the Grand Canyon. I was in the water. I had no choice because I was in the water. I mean, I can't ignore that I'm in the water and I'm drowning. Am I going to fight? Am I going to fight correctly to live? Am I going to die? You don't know. So here's the fire. You have a perfect opportunity to go, uh-oh, fire burns. That hurts, right? We've learned that fire burns. We've all had the experience of touching a stove at 200 degrees and you get a blister and it hurts. Well, these coals are 1200 degrees. They're red. They're pulsing, you know, and so there's this urge to run. But to me, that fire represents all those things in your life that we have to face. We have no choice. We want to get to the other side. We have to walk through this fire. And I tell people, they'll say to me when something scary comes up, they'll say, how'd you handle that? I go, it's just another firewalk. I deal with it in the same way that I walk on fire, which is one step at a time, but also using my tools of how to listen to my intuition. Is it my time to walk? Should I get off the coals? You know, I give the option when people are walking, if they need to step off, you can step off. It's okay. You know, if you take one step on fire, you've walked on fire. You don't have to walk 350 feet to prove anything. You know, it's just the big deal is taking that first step. And so the Firewalk represents so many things for so many people. You know, it is scary. The one thing really is that fire burns is one of the earliest beliefs we ever get. We're a little child, we're crawling across the floor, mom's cooking at the stove, and she says, stay back, it's hot. And or she puts food on your plate and she says, hot, don't touch. So it is one of the first beliefs. And then afterwards, we start getting, I'm not good enough. I'm not a good artist. I'm not a good athlete. I'm not, you know, I'm too tall. I'm too short. All these beliefs start piling on. And then as an adult, we don't even realize those programs are running. They're running our lives. Well, you're not good enough. Why would you try to get a new job? You're never going to get it. These are the programs that start running in the subconscious. So when we walk on fire, and science says that your skin will melt off the bone at 430 degrees, but we're walking on 1200 degrees, and we come out the other side with pink feet, we say, if I can do that, I can do anything. Wait a minute, I must be good enough. I can firewalk. Science says I can't firewalk, but I can. And I must be able to do whatever I feel like I can do. And so all those beliefs crash. And it's amazing. It's stuff that we don't even know crashes in our subconscious. And the next thing you know, you find yourself doing more and more things that you would have called courageous the year before. And now you're just doing them and you don't even think twice about it. I hear that all the time from people. They'll say, all of a sudden I found myself doing this and doing that. And I would have never done that before the Firewalk. So it's so powerful. And it's such an amazing experience to get to do that. It's, you know, some people think it's about the ego. They go, oh, you know, you walk on fire, cool. No, it isn't about the ego. If you walk with your ego, the fire will let you know. You know, it's going to give you a nice kiss and tell you that you used your ego instead of your intuition and your heart. You know, you have to use it.
So how do you, I guess it's like when you talk about the kiss, that some people end up with blister, as you mentioned. I wonder if you have a symbol also behind those mark.
I do. I do, and I know that recently there's been a lot of publicity about Tony Robbins who led a firewalk and people got burned, they said, and things like that. So what I talk about is, yes, first off, people have been seriously burned by firewalking. Don't try it at home. Don't do it by yourself. You need to do it with a trained professional because the coals need to be handled properly in order for you to walk properly. You wouldn't go jump out of an airplane with a parachute you packed. You would want it to be packed by a professional. It's the same thing. Second, I haven't had serious injuries at my firewalks. I'm very particular about safety. And in it though, I tell people it is possible to get what's called a fire kiss. Now, I call it a kiss because everybody likes to be kissed, right? If I say you're gonna get a fire burn, everybody imagines your whole body going up in flames. So we talk about it being a fire kiss. And a kiss is, for me, the ones I've had are no worse than if I got a new pair of shoes and I got a blister. Matter of fact, last week I was at the beach, my flip-flops gave me a blister. And I thought, oh my goodness, and it seemed to hurt worse than the fire kiss. So you have these blisters that we call a fire kiss. And what I have found is that the next day they're gone. And sometimes on the bottom of your feet, you have reflexology points, right? And if you can look this up, and Chinese medicine says every one of your organs has a point on the bottom of the foot. So my theory is that if you get a fire kiss, that it's possible you had a healing in that organ in your body, or you had a weakness that needed energy. Because all it is energy. It's fire energy, right? Which is combusting. So as it possibly, I'm not going to say it does, but it could be a healing moment. Now, the interesting thing about fire kisses is that if you think you got a fire kiss, you will create one. Your mind is that powerful. So I tell people, when you walk across the fire, if you think you got a fire kiss, when you're standing on the earth afterwards, just give it back to the earth. Just release it back, because you may not have one. I've had one time I walked and I thought, oh, I got a horrible kiss, and I looked at the bottom of my feet and there was nothing. So it was all up here, right? Or it was a combustion that was quick with no result. So I don't look at kisses as bad. I've had people say, oh, you must not have walked right if you got a kiss, you were in the wrong frame of mind. No, that is not the way I look at it. I look at it as the fire gave you a kiss, as a healing. And I encourage the people who come to my fire walks, if you think you got a kiss, walk again and give a kiss back to the fire. Go back to the fire and give it back to the fire. So if I feel like I've gotten one, I'll walk back through and give it right back. Say, thank you very much. I'm done with this. So they're not bad. They're not bad. You know, it's part of the experience. I have found sometimes one of my participants walked and they called me the next day and said, if I hadn't gotten a kiss, I wouldn't have believed the fire was real, because I kept thinking it was a trick. But because I got a kiss and I could see it and I could touch it and there was a little discomfort there, I knew the fire was real. So the fire will always be the teacher. It will always give you what you need. If you need a kiss, you're going to get a kiss. If you don't need one, you won't get one. You know, so you just have to trust the meaning of it.
So you still, you mentioned you keep walking, and I wonder if when you're doing a fire, are you first on the fire? Is there some rule about who go first?
Right. I always walk first. I always open the fire. I always go first just because it's my fire, and I want to make sure it's a friendly fire. And I know fires, but I also love walking. And here's the thing: if I walk, and I've had a lot of people say this, because I'm a regular human being, and I walk on it, they said, well, we knew because we saw you walk that we could do it too. And that is really how this is. And that's how I live my life. You know, it's like, if I can do it, you can do it. You know, the man who broke the 4-minute mile in jogging, Roger Bannister, nobody could break the 4-minute mile. The day he did it, after that, everybody started breaking it, right? So I walk first just to say, hey, I mean, it's a great fire. Let's go.
That's great. Oh, that's good. Yeah. I wonder if you can take a question. We have a question from Karim. It's cool.
Sure.
Yeah. So he said, I am unemployed at the moment and wonder if you can give me some direction.
Unemployed is it? Oh. So getting more skills. This person needs skills. There's like, what's her name?
Karim.
Okay. Need more skills. You need to read, you need to understand, you need to make yourself more employable. There's you have a lack. It's like you're really strong in a few areas, but there's a couple areas it seems like it's around computers that you need to get more knowledge, more use of how to use certain programs in order so that you're qualified to get the job that you want. And once you do that, go take it at a community college, go take it, you know, find someone, a kid, a 12-year-old or 4, you know, teenagers are great. Have them sit down and teach you how to do it if you can't afford to go to a community college, and take those courses, and then you'll be ready to go. I see it in about 4 months. So you got to hang on and have faith. Don't give up. Keep working on yourself.
Thanks for him. I've got a question myself. When you say you journey, how do you journey? Is it like you do right now, or are you using drum in the traditional way?
I can journey silently. I can, but I do use a rattle or a drum a lot of times, but I don't have to. I once was in New York City with a client, and we were walking down the street, and I surprised myself, but I was on 5th Avenue and busy. And all of a sudden the client had something come up, and Spirit just said, you got to do it right now. And I stood right there, open direction, and did it. So, you know, a drum is great. Rattles are great. You don't have to have it to journey. And I can just close my eyes and journey. I know the map. There's a map, and I know the map to go to the underworld and to do what I need to do. The drum is beautiful, and of course the rattle's great, but I don't have to have it.
We're close to the end of the interview, and I wonder if there's a subject that you would like to discuss before we finish.
Sure, I would love to. I would love to discuss the nature of what's going on in the political world in the United States.
Okay.
I really feel like, you know, when we start looking at hatred and the way we're talking to each other, it is appalling, really. We're not loving each other at all. But I do feel like we're in a huge paradigm shift for that reason. I think that feels like people talk to themselves that way, and now it's starting to come out. And the tolerance needs to be there, you know, and allowing other people to actually have an opinion that might be different and see if there's a way to learn from that person, you know, just to listen and be a witness. Just because your candidate, it doesn't matter who your candidate is acting a certain way, doesn't mean you have to engage in that same behavior. It doesn't matter which candidate. It's just a matter of you don't have to engage in the hatred. You can still be the loving person. You just don't have to get on that boat of whatever that is that's going on. It's just really pretty nasty. So I just felt like I needed to say something about that, you know, we just need to love each other.
It's interesting because I reflect on that at the moment. So there's probably something in the air about listening more to your adversary to learn, you know, on the deep level and not being just on the surface also. So I think just connecting back with the human and yeah, spending time to know more about the other. And I think that helps for tolerance.
Right. There's a place to step in if you see someone harming someone else. Of course, step in. You don't have to harm the other person when you step in, but also just being a witness and listening to what people say. We are in a huge shift. You know, my grandmother, I was thinking my grandmother, when she was born in 1902, she lived to be 102 years old. They didn't have cars when she started. And by the time she died and passed away, we were flying on airplanes. We'd been to the moon. You know, there was all this huge shift, computers, and so we do have this constant change, and change is good, but sometimes we fight against it, and we want what we think used to work to be working, and it's not always going to work. We're in a constant shift, you know. It's just, but following from your heart, not your head. And just because everybody's on board with being angry about one thing doesn't mean you have to get on that same train. You can just step back and say, well, let me just hear what you have to say, you know, because they might have some good points.
Yeah, yes, it's true. I would like to know, so you mentioned you have a workshop soon, or walk?
I do. I have a Firewalk coming up on August the 13th in Omaha, Nebraska. It's very soon. You can go to unityofomaha.org to buy tickets. So that's Unity Church, unityofomaha.org. You can buy tickets there. We're going to do an all-day amazing Firewalk. It's going to start with the ceremony. I'm going to do an hour despacho ceremony where we're going to put our prayers into a bundle. And then we're going to do a workshop all day. And at the end of the day, you'll have an opportunity to walk on fire. And you don't have to. That's always voluntary. I have a money-back guarantee that I say if you don't receive all your money's worth before we get to the Firewalk, I'll give you all your money back. Because it's not about the Firewalk. The Firewalk is just the icing on the cake for the end of the day. But we're going to have a great time with them. They have a beautiful facility. There's hotels nearby. I'm very excited about going there, and I look forward to that.
Nice. How long does that last?
We're going to start at noon. So we're going to start with the despacho at noon, and we're going to go till 10:30 at night. So it is a long one. And we do offer, we're going to have snacks, and we're going to have dinner. So you're taken care of. And it's indoors most of the day, so it'll be nice and cool. And then we'll go outside in the evening, and we'll journey with the fire. I don't just do a fire walk. We actually journey with the fire and give deep insight. So it is going to be an amazing, amazing day. And then the next day, of course, they have service, and they're lovely, beautiful people there. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Nice. Well, thank you very much, Lori, for your time. That was very, very interesting. A lot of information. I'm very pleased to have you today on the show. And yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks. It's been a blessing.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Take care and see you soon. Bye-bye.